Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Stop.Sit.Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen.
Hello.
We are welcomed today by a super fun guest. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, of course. So, hi, everyone. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so excited. My name is Brianna Buck, and I am a former surrogate, and I now am the head of community over at Nodal.
What is Nodal?
So,
Seriously,
Nodal, yes. So, we are a matching platform. So we've been often called the Bumble of surrogacy, but essentially we are bringing together surrogates and intended parents on a platform so they can, meet through that way.
Go ahead, Mom. I know more, so you can ask.
Yeah, you do. So more like so that the surrogate and the IPs can kind of go independent. Is that kind of, does an agency even get involved?
So we have intended parents who are working with agencies. We have intended parents who are working, independent. And then we have some intended parents that are like, we're open to going either way. Let's find our surrogate first, find the right match, and then we'll figure out what feels best from there. So it's really, it's just a way to meet people on both sides who have been vetted by a company. So it's a little bit, you've got the Facebook groups and you just never really know who you're talking to and whether or not they're being honest. Here, everybody is vetted. They're coming in. We do, all kinds of different background checks, identity verifications and everything so that we know that the people who are on the platform are there for the right reasons and also, are in the right place to be doing such a journey.
Great. Wow. That's
yeah.
super helpful. Okay.
It's a bit more, it takes kind of like the business, like, that businessy feeling of like, oh, this is a transaction kind of
takes it out of it. It takes it out of it. Okay.
It's like a little bit more personal.
Very nice.
Perfect.
How long's Nodal been around?
So we launched September 2022. So last year, it's been about 6 months now.
Oh my gosh, you're baby.
Insane whirlwind. Yeah. So I'm coming up on my 1 year with being with the company. And yeah, it's been amazing. It's so cool to work in this space.
And I was going to say, who thought to do this? Like, how was Nodal born?
There you go. Yep.
So the founder is Brian Levine, and he is a RE doctor at CCRM. And he obviously is very intimate with the process of IVF, surrogacy, all of that. And he just, looking at the world of surrogacy, just said, we would really like to have more transparency, more equity in the, in the entire world of it. So he said, this is something that I think that is missing in the space. And yeah, that's how Nodal was born.
Wow, that's amazing. That really is. So is he involved with it then on a day-to-day basis, or is he is? Okay.
Yeah. We, it's great. It's a small team, again, we're a startup. So we talk all the time, every day, and everybody, it's cool because we get to, as you're going through it, you get to make decisions and it's not corporate where you've got all right, we're going through 1,000,001 processes. We meet as a company, we say, hey, this is going to work. This isn't going to work. Let's do it. And so it's been really great and really exciting to be working on this team.
That's why I take it you're all remote, right? There's no home office. Okay. Gotcha. Yes. Nice.
But you guys are mainly located East Coast. Yes.
No, not really. We're all over the place. We have, we have staff that are West Coast. We have staff East Coast. We're all over the place.
Oh, how amazing.
Yeah. So our meetings, I always, you feel bad for somebody because
it's always different time. We did that this morning.
The times.
Yeah. We did that this morning. We hopped on at 6 a.m. for 9 a.m. back East.
Yes. And I cannot for the life of me figure out time zones.
It's so hard.
I keep saying I need to just get 3 clocks on my wall. Tells me okay, if I am here, this is what time it is, because I'm always trying to figure it out and I blow it every time. So
it's a lot. It's a lot of math.
Yeah.
A lot of math. So then what would to apply to be at Nodal, right? Let's go surrogate side first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So surrogates, what are the disqualifications? I think that's a shorter list.
Yeah.
To, for being a surrogate with Nodal.
Okay. So we go on ASRM guidelines, really. And I think that's kind of the standard answer, right? But as you know, surrogacy is just so nuanced. Every case is a little bit different. agency, every clinic, everything is a little bit different. So, we go on ASRM guidelines, but from there we kind of, we tend to be as permissible as possible so that when you've got these people here, you've got a range of IPs and you want to have a range of surrogates as well. And just to understand, it's about transparency and it's about education. And so everybody that we have on, we just make sure that we're saying like, okay, here's the things that may be an issue for your clinic or for your agency, here it is. Let's lay it all out. You go talk to your clinic, you go to your agency, and let's figure out what's going to be a good match.
Perfect. Okay. And then for IPs,
Mm-hmm.
so do they apply kind of like the same way as like a surrogate applies?
Yep. So they apply the same way a surrogate applies. They have the same kind of verifications, identity, background, all of that verifications that they have to do.
Okay.
They talk to our IP coordinators who are previous IPs themselves to kind of talk about where they are in the journey. We do require that our intended parents, when they get on, that they have embryos available. So it's not like they're like just thinking about it. Like they're knowledgeable about the process. They know what they're going to do. They have a clinic and they're ready to go.
Okay.
Oh, that is good.
So you don't do any part of the egg donation, that part of it, you surrogacy's IPs.
Surrogacy only right now. Yeah.
Okay. And any IPs, they could,
International.
That
is the one thing we do not do international.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Yes, we do not. At this time, we don't do international. Again, 6 months in. So,
you'll get there.
We have our hopes and dreams of what will come. But at this point, we're just trying to,
you'll totally get there.
Hammer down what we're doing now. So right now, we're only working with, not with international parents.
So can I ask I have 2 questions actually.
Mm-hmm.
How many surrogates do you have out there and how many IPs like that are on the platforms right now? Can you share that or can you just give me a guesstimate?
So the numbers are always changing. It kind of flexes around all the time, right? And it's really about kind of making sure that you've got people who are able to stay active and figuring out, what that ratio looks like, but it changes all the time. And, we're always vetting surrogates on both sides and we've always got intended parents. I mean, I think as with anything else, like there's always gonna be more intended parents than there are surrogates.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. All the time. And you guys are LGBTQ friendly. Yes.
Very. Yes.
That's what I was going to ask too.
I'm just going to throw it out there.
I mean, like me personally, like I'll walk around waving a rainbow flag all the time. So
same.
But yes, we are, very LGBTQ friendly.
Amazing.
So how does Nodal make its money? Do the IPs pay a fee? Do the surrogates pay a fee? How does that all work out? Because you have to be able to run your business.
Yep. So it's free for our surrogates, of course.
Okay.
The intended parents. So the way that it's set up, it's $7,500 for a match. Parents can get on and they pay a $500. I think it's $500 now. Sorry, I should have known that. I should have checked. But it was $500. It might have changed at this point, but it's around there that they're paying on a monthly basis. And then any of those payments are going to go towards your $7,500 match fee.
Look at that. So they don't have to come up with the $7,500 because, financially, some surrogacy can be off the table for a lot of people because of the financial aspect of it. Yeah. Right. So right there, that was genius. $500.
Yeah. And and again, it's about like making this a more accessible industry for a lot of people. And is like the big and the main goal of everybody that's on our team is making it more accessible, making it more equitable, and making it more transparent.
Yeah. You guys are very transparent. I'll speak from experience. I know that, which is good. And that's very respectable because
it's needed.
Like, when people go with agencies, not all agencies, but there are some that they just don't share everything that each side should know. So it's nice that you guys are kind of like, well, this is it. So like, yes or no. And it's like,
and it's kind of, you put the power back in the hands of the people who are doing it. And you say like, look, for better or worse, like you get to make the choice and you get to be the one to decide like what's right for you. We're going to give you all of the information. And at the end of the day, like it's your choice.
Absolutely.
So if IPs are on the platform, surrogates are on the platform, who's looking at who? Do they both get to look at surrogates, look at IP profiles, IPs look at surrogate profiles, or no?
So the way that it's set up, it's kind of, again, it's like the Bumble, right? So you've got the surrogates are going to be the ones who make the first move. So surrogates Yes. So you've
That's
got
awesome.
surrogates, they come on and they're able to see all of the intended parent profiles.
Okay.
They get each surrogate then can send out an introduction request to the intended parents, and then the intended parents then will be able to see their profile. So they can only see the profiles of the people who are interested in meeting them. So again, it's like empowered
Yes.
surrogate.
Yeah.
You know, we want to make sure that they're the people who are making that first move.
Because my first journey, and we're not going to talk a lot, I was just given a couple. Here you go. This is who you're getting. Okay. It was a disaster. So yeah, right.
And I mean, for me, like
Mm.
my surrogacy journey, I worked with an agency and honestly, like had a fantastic experience. Like,
Great.
and you know, they gave me a couple, they said, hey, we feel like they're a good match for you. I was like, cool, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
go. And so, you know, it's not at all to say that like agencies, that the way that they do it is wrong. There are
No.
many instances, you know, where everything works out great.
I
But this is just a different way to do it.
Yep.
Oh,
A different
absolutely.
option.
And disclaimer, I did that 20 some odd years ago. So it was fairly new in its infancy. And so I don't think all of this, like, you know, Nodal's new. So that doesn't have anything to do with it. But I'm just saying it was just very archaic back then. And so they just didn't really know, like, oh, surrogates should have a say. We should, but it's nice.
Yes.
I like it.
And I
Okay,
cannot
so-
even imagine.
So somebody sends, so they send out their an introduction notification, and then the intended parents see it and they go, you know what? Yeah, we wanna kind of pursue this. Do they then get on a Zoom or what happens?
Yep. So then we'll arrange a Zoom call with the intended parents and the potential GC,
Okay.
the potential surrogate. There's a nodal representative on the call just to kind of facilitate everything, but we try to really like just step back and we pull ourselves off video, like just to allow, you know, them to have a conversation and see how it feels. We jump in when needed. But yeah, it's just a chance and we always try to tell people like, look, it's a first date, but you know, I encourage all of like the surrogates, like send out all your intro requests, like have a couple meetings because you just don't know what you don't know. And I think that's like one of the biggest things that like I learned during my surrogacy journey is that like, there's so many choices you make. There's so many decisions, like decision points that you get to, and you just kind of go with the flow because you don't know any better. And I always try to say like, you know, I can help you to, like, you might make the same decision that I would have made, but like, I can give you all your options so that you know what the alternative might have been.
Right.
And so that's kind of the same way with the introduction calls. Like, you know, that first one might be perfect and it might be exactly what you want, but like maybe go on one that's not so perfect. So you know why that one felt even better. So
Right. So if a surrogate puts out her introduction, that she wants to talk to some IPs, and she's done maybe 4. Let's say she's done like 4 conversations, and she's narrowed it down to like 2. Does Nodal step in and say and like try to help her through that process on how to pick, because maybe she's just not sure, and you guys have already vetted them, so you may know a little bit more? Is that something you do and help?
yeah. So one of the things that any of the surrogates that come onto our platform are going to get is they get their own mentor. So it's just somebody who's a previous surrogate themselves, who's familiar with our process and who can kind of help talk them through it. So whether that mentor, like, you know, because I am currently the head of community and this is a small company, like I got to mentor, you know, the number of people that came in through through the platform. And so it's been such an amazing experience but to really sit down and like talk about like, okay, let's figure out what your options are, what feels right. And like, you know, it's always like, it's so interesting to me because it's different for every person. Like the thing that like just makes their heart smile and sing is so different from one person to the next. And so yeah, like I can, you know, you can put down 2 people and say, all right, like you put down 2 couples or 2 GCs or 2 IPs and say, okay, like what one feels right. And if they're like, I don't know, both of them feel right, then we could like, okay, well, let's talk about if they're going with an agency or they're going independent, like what feels right to you there. Let's talk about like what clinic are they going to, like location wise, how does that feel for you? So just having somebody to talk through those decisions with, I think is really helpful for a lot of the surrogates.
Very helpful. That's phenomenal. That's really great.
No, it's super nice to have somebody who's been a surrogate be like, oh, hey, like I've been through that, or you know what, like this is what I've seen, and like, you know, just the little advice, like you said, there's so much that's not known. So to have somebody that might know something of it it's very helpful and comforting.
Yeah.
To be like, cool, like I have a friend.
Yeah. And that's really like, for me, when developing that mentor program, like I think it's even in my training, like I don't want the mentor is not somebody that has any stake in a game, right? Like you don't have stake. You're not trying to sell anybody on anything. Like your sole purpose as a mentor is to like, it's just to be somebody who's like, have been there before. Like, these are the things that I had to think about. Or even in an instance where you're like, man, I have no idea. Like I only did agency journeys. So sorry, there's a bug flying around. I only did agency journeys. So, like if you're talking about going on an independent journey, like your mentor can connect you to another mentor or somebody else in the company who can like better speak to those things. And so it really, it's just about having someone to talk to and someone to bounce ideas off of and someone to tell you to think about the things that you don't know to think about.
Okay.
Yeah. No, what you guys do is really sweet. It's very, how do I say it? Like more family based. Like it's more intimate. It's like, community.
Yeah. And I thank you. Cause that's like, like that was
Yeah.
my vision. That was like what I wanted it to be. And as a surrogate, that's, I think when trying to find people to come be mentors, like it's just shocking. It's such a personality type for people who become surrogates that like, it's every previous surrogate that I've met. I'm like, that's my buddy. Like we're so similar. It's so easy to sit and chat. And like, everybody has this mission where they want to like make this world of surrogacy a better place and, put a hand down to help out the people who are coming into it. So it's been a really amazing experience to create this community.
It's phenomenal. So just something that's sparking in my head is, so if the IPs are using an agency and the surrogate is found through Nodal and they paid their $7,500 through Nodal, right? To get the surrogate, and they now go to an agency. I know the surrogate gets a fee for her services, right? But there's usually something in that contract about finding the surrogate or matching or this or that. So that financial part of it would actually no longer exist because they have their surrogate. I'm not saying she's only getting $7,500 for her time and her effort. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the agency fee would be decreased for that IP, hopefully, because they are bringing in their own surrogate. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure for each individual agency what it looks like.
Right.
Most of the agencies they do provide a discount or, a chunk of whatever their typical agency fee is if you are bringing in your own surrogate.
Right. Okay. So that's another financial incentive to per se use Nodal,
Yes.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Really.
So when it comes to matching, are there psych evals done for both sides? Like, or how does that work?
That is currently, we do not do psych evals.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is, so that's one of the things, like we do medical, we don't do psych.
Okay.
Totally fair.
Does someone talk when you vet a surrogate? I'm just very curious now. When you vet a surrogate, does she go through some interviews perhaps?
So it's not necessarily an interview so much as you're going to be talking to our intake coordinators, and all of our intake coordinators are previous surrogates who have, worked in surrogacy intake for a long time.
Okay.
So we have, the team of professionals that we have on our team, not only are they professionals in their certain field, but also they're experienced in this space as well.
Okay.
That's so, yeah. And then, I mean, that's not to say that like, none of us are perfect. Like there's nothing that's ever going to replace a psych eval. But, you're talking to somebody who knows what they're talking about.
And a psych eval, really, honestly, when I went through them, it was, I hate to use the word, but it was demeaning. It was, I'm an adult. I'm not choosing to do this just for fun. This is going to affect my family. Like I've put a lot of thought and effort into this, and now you're making me take a psych eval, but you're not making my IPs take one. Hold on. Like
that was back then.
Yes,
I was gonna say, I think now I'm pretty sure
now they both take. They both take. I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. So I have a very bad taste in my mouth about psych evals. I do. I really do. So it's kind of nice that you don't make them take one. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and it's not that we don't make them take one. It's just so much as like, you know, that if they're going to go to a clinic or they're going to go to an agency,
Yeah,
they're going to have to take
They're
one
gonna
there
have to take one
anyway.
anyway. There you
Totally.
go. Okay, so they're still gonna
So,
go.
and like we always say, like it's very much like our whole team, like throughout the process, it's about like managing expectations. Like, look, yes, like you know, we have done our medical review. There's still like every agency, every clinic has their own list of requirements. And, you know, where there's a surrogate who, you know, could easily breeze through intake with one clinic, then the next one is going to say, hey, we're just not willing to take whatever the liability is. So it's a very nuanced, you know, and anyone who's been in it knows that, like, it's a very nuanced field. And so, you know, I just try to tell all of the surrogates, like, if the first one doesn't work out, it's okay. Like you can come back and we'll figure it out. And if we need to take a little bit more of like a concierge type of approach to say like, okay, this was the issue. Let's see if we, you know, if we have any other clinics or IPs that might be a better fit for you, like we can do that. So it's really great to be able to have that kind of mobility and ability to like, to tailor it as it needs to be for the surrogates to come in and have a positive experience.
Absolutely. Gosh.
I mean, you guys are still new, so like I don't even know if you would have like a statistic on it, but like are you finding that when surrogates and IPs are ready to like start looking at each other, that they're matched within a decent amount of time, or does it take a little bit longer? Because maybe because you know, now people can't, you know, you just said they can be tailored to what someone's looking for. So if someone's really picky, I hate to say picky, but if someone really knows what they want out of the journey, it could take longer. But generally, would you say that it's decently
It's
quick?
pretty quick. I mean, what we found, and you know, I don't know the exact, but like it's around from when people are getting on, and this is on the surrogate side. Like when people are getting on, like it's months, like you know, less than 6 months that they're able to like match. You know, some people are obviously faster, some people are not. But again, like it really just depends on like
what you're looking for.
And then also, you know, there's a million and one factors. But yeah, we're finding, and like as we, you know, perfect what we're doing, it's faster and faster, and it offers just an alternative for IPs, you know, versus some of the, you know, the different routes that they can go. It's just an alternative, and it's another way to try to get to that end goal. All of us, our goal is like to make babies. So
yes. So if people meet and they want to go independently and they're like, we don't know, like, where do we get the lawyer? Like, where, like, you know, where do you guys give advice? I know that you guys aren't like trying to like sell people on things and stuff like that, but and like facilitate like an agency would, but is there like advice or like reference, like, hey, these are people that we trust, you can talk to them?
Yeah. So again, like another part of like, we're very lucky with the people that we have that are working with us is that we've got IPs, we have lawyers, we have, you know, surrogacy and RE, we've got, you know, people who are professionals all across this, you know, this field. And so, like on the IP side, like our IP coordinators are able to say like, hey, these are some of the people that we've worked with before that we've had positive experiences, you know, and to kind of like guide people in that direction if that's where they're trying to go. And so, it's very much like we're able to help in that way. But again, like we always try to reiterate, like we're not an agency. On the IP side, especially, like we're not going to facilitate your entire independent journey. We can kind of point you in the right direction, but it's your journey.
So now, and then you also said that like, so surrogates would have like a mentor, right? Like someone that they can be with, and that's throughout their journey, right? So is there anybody for IPs at this time, or just
not at this time?
Okay.
No. Because again, like the majority of the IPs, like they're going independent because they know what they're doing, or they're going with an agency. So,
and they have embryos and they're ready to go. So it's really just finding the surrogate. Yeah. Because you had mentioned they have to have the embryos, right? If somebody wants to do I'm sorry, but if somebody wanted to do like a fresh transfer and didn't want to use frozen embryos, would you be acceptable of an IP coming in and saying, hey, it's going to be a relative of ours, it's going to be one of the IPs, maybe sister, what have you, and we want to do a fresh cycle? is that allowable, or have you not come across that yet? You've had offers on
In terms of
like getting a match, but not having embryos quite yet because they want to do fresh.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think again, like it's nuanced on that side as well. And if, it's really up to our IP coordinator team to say like, yeah, I think that and really it's about like, we might be able to find you a match, or maybe, you need something that's a little bit more specialized. So, so yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I think, and I don't know as much, definitely. I do not know as much about what the IP side looks like. So I'm not sure if they've come up against that yet, or, what we've done in that situation.
Interesting. All right.
I speak from experience, so that's where this question comes from. But okay, so if there becomes a bump in the road and, the surrogate with Nodal has, her mentor to talk to, but there's a bump in the road with communication or something with the IPs, is the mentor going to just advise her, like how would that work? Because if she doesn't have an agency to possibly help her advocate for herself,
let's ask, have they come across that yet? Have you come across a situation where a surrogate might be having a hard time navigating after the match?
Yeah. And I mean, I think, whether or not it's in a small way or in a large way, to say like, we don't really know how to talk to each other, or like, how do I say this, or how do I ask this question?
Right.
And I think to some degree, anybody on an independent journey, you're going to run into that. A mentor isn't going to be able to, intervene in a way that like a lawyer would.
Okay.
But a mentor can say, look, like in my previous experience in an independent journey, this is what I did, or this was the expectation of what worked for me. I ran into this bump and this is what I did. So again, it's not that the mentors are going to be able to, intervene in any legal capacity, or, that they'll be the ones calling your IPs to have that discussion with you, but they can empower you and give you the information that you need to reach out to the resources that are going to help you over that bump.
That's very nice.
That's great.
That's probably the best scenario you could ask for, really, just to bump, kind of like, just because you're in a world all by yourself sometimes when you're doing surrogacy. I know there's all these people out there, but a whole lot of your friends and your family, they're like, oh yeah, you're carrying a baby for somebody else. They don't know the ins and outs of it. They're not into it. So to be able to just bounce that question off, it may not be as big as the surrogate thinks it is, because now she's talking to somebody else who might have gone through it. And so just to kind of ease it off, I think it's huge. That's wonderful.
I always tell people, I'm like, your mentor is there to, like, if you need a crazy check, like, hey, can you, and because that's like, I mean, I do that all the time with my best friend. Like, I'm like, can you just crazy check me here? Like, am I being insane, or is this like, I think in the world of surrogacy, like, you don't know, I had no idea. I didn't have anything to compare it to. I've never done it before. So it's like, hey, can you like crazy check me? Like, am I supposed to bleed this much when I'm giving myself a shot? Like, is it okay for me to like call my IPs and talk to them about my period? Like, is that weird? I don't know. So it's just like, it's somebody to have to crazy check you. And then in the event that you do need, like, if it's, a medical question, your mentors can say like, hey, this is what I did in my previous experience, but probably you should just reach out to your nurse.
Yeah.
So
got it. Okay.
Oh, I had a question and then it left my brain. Without getting into the specifics and everything like that, but do the surrogates get to say, hey, this is how much I'm personally looking for, and like that goes on their profile?
Yes. So I also feel very strongly about compensation. And I think that it's one of those things where, as women, we are so often taught, like, don't talk about how much money you make. Don't like, it's an uncomfortable subject. But I think that there should be transparency in it. It should be very clear to the IPs what the surrogates are and what they're looking for, and vice versa. Like, it should be that everybody is coming to the table with the same knowledge.
Right.
And so in building the compensation package, like, it was really important to me to create a resource for surrogates, number one, where they could see, look, these are the industry averages. These are the things that, at some agencies or people do independent journeys, like this is the ranges of what people are, charging for, or not charging, but like, this is what people typically get for like an embryo transfer fee. This is what you're going to typically get for Med Start, and just to see what that looks like, because I just remember like when my contract was handed to me and they said, this is your compensation package.
Wow.
I was like, oh, okay. Like,
you had no questions.
Right.
Sure. I didn't know. I didn't have anything to compare it to, and I didn't know anybody else to like send it over to who could tell me like it's low or it's high or this is normal or whatever, you're missing this. Like, and so that was really important to me, was to create this resource for our surrogates who are coming in so that they can create a compensation package that makes sense for them. Because some people are like, I don't need childcare. Like, I've got family right down the street, the kids can cover it. But what I do need is like, I want this and this, like, and so it's being able to create a package that like makes sense for you, and then confidently being able to like hand that to an IP and say, I thought all of this through. This is what feels important to me, and this is what I'm looking for. And the way that we do it, our IPs are given the compensation packages for our surrogates before they decide if they want to accept or pass on that introduction.
I love that.
So that way, like, they're not falling in love with a surrogate that maybe is a little bit higher than the comp that they're looking for. They can say, okay, no. But then also in that, like, you're coming to this table with that introduction, and everybody know the cards are all on the table. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to have those awkward conversations. Like, it's done. Everybody knows, like, and we've already accepted it. And we're saying we're ready to move forward. So that was a part that was really important to me.
I love it.
And it's, again, like, it feels good to have people feel good and empowered about what they're asking for.
Right. Because typically you go to an agency and it's just cookie cutter. It's like, okay, first time surrogate gets this, second time gets this, you get this much for maternity clothes, you get this much for the Med Start. And you're like, okay, first timers, it's very, very difficult.
Okay, cool. And like, I think, again, like, most surrogates, like, in my experience, tend to just be the most like giving people, right? And so like, especially a first time surrogate, you're like, I don't want anyone to think that I'm being greedy, or I don't want anyone to think that I'm like coming from a bad place, or like, and I don't want to inconvenience anybody. So you're just like, okay, whatever, I'll take whatever. Like, we just deserve a little bit more than that.
Agreed.
I agree as well.
Thumbs
you gotta
up.
advocate for yourself and know your worth and just do your research.
But it's great that you guys put that out there and show them what the norms are and what they could ask for and maybe what they don't need, and they could add a little extra somewhere else, because that's what it's all about. You never know through a pregnancy, obviously, especially through surrogacy, if you're going to have a medical complication, if you're going to be on bed rest for the last 3 months of that pregnancy, what's going to happen to your family? What, is all of the compensation you've gotten to that date going to have to go pay for everything that your family needs because you are now on bed rest? Like, it's stuff that they need to know. And I applaud you for actually and being passionate about that compensation package. Seriously, because obviously you've been there, and you were just like, yeah, I'll take it. Okay. I'm like, I don't know what it is. Yeah. Right. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Okay. What else you got, Ken?
Well, I mean, we've kind of gone over this, but basically, like, what if somebody were to come up to me and be like, what's Nodal's purpose? What is, what is the purpose of Nodal?
Yeah. So, I mean, the purpose of Nodal is to bring people together who are qualified to be in the space and who are vetted to be in this space. And then to give them a transparent and, equitable journey. Or I guess match is a better word than journey. But
does Nodal stand for something? And I'm just not in the mix on that one. Who came up with the name?
So that is Dr. Brian Levine, and he explains it far better than any of us ever will. Like, if you've ever heard Brian talk, he's just the most like passionate and like charismatic person. But Nodal, it's like nodes of information, and like node is also like
Okay.
connecting things.
Okay.
Again, I'm like not
That's
doing it
okay.
any justice,
I
but
just didn't know
No,
if each
that's-
letter stood for something, and I was like,
Nope.
nodal. I mean, it's
Nope.
very easy to remember. Nodal,
Yes.
very easy.
Well, and it's funny because often we hear people calling it like Nodal, and I'm like,
Oh.
fancy, but really we're just like Nodal.
Nodal.
that's so cute. Oh my gosh. Nodal, that's funny.
Too fun. Did
So
you? Oh.
when a surrogate applies to Nodal or Nodal, well, how can they make the process kind of like go faster? Like maybe before, like, like should they already have their records on hand, or like do the clinics themselves need to actually fax it to you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what we always say to people as they're coming on board is like, number one, the biggest thing that you can do to get yourself ready to be a surrogate is to make an appointment with your OB and go get your OB clear, like go get an OB clearance form. And we have one that we send out like pretty much as soon as somebody goes through, like the initial is like a quick type form that they do. It's like that you do online.
Sure.
And then you'll go and you'll do a phone interview with our intake team. And like at that point, like, all right, if you want to do this, like go talk to your OB. Because that's really, and again, like this goes back to just like empowering a surrogate themselves. Like if you want to be a surrogate, you should know the things that like may be an issue for you. You should know the things that, that may end up being a red flag in your medical history, so that you're coming to the table saying, okay, I want to be a surrogate. I've checked with my OB. They say I'm good to go. This might, whatever it is, like, this might be what is the biggest red flag. Also, like make sure you have all of the information from the places that you've delivered and all of the places that you've had OB care. Because, one of the biggest parts of making sure that people, are qualified to be a surrogate is checking through their medical records.
Right.
We can't accept any records directly from any patients themselves, just because obviously it has to come directly from the clinic in
Right.
order to be verified.
Yeah.
But having all of that information ahead of time so that you're coming in, you're saying like, yep, I've talked to my OB. Here's all of my providers. Like reach out to them to get my records. I've already let them know or signed whatever release records. That really helps move things along very quickly.
Yeah.
I think the education piece, I struggle because I feel like so often people are like, you need to research, you need to do your research. Like if you look in any Facebook group, like the first thing that someone is going to tell somebody when it's like, I'm interested in being a surrogate, people are like, you need to do your research for a full year. But
Wow.
where are you to do that, right? Like,
Right.
how are you supposed to find that information? And so, yes, I do think that like people should be educated, but at the same time, like, I think we do our best to provide resources that are open to anybody without having to fill out an application, without having to like, sign their life away to say like, hey, you're definitely going to work with us. Like we have all this information on our blog that's available to people to learn about it. We have, Surrogacy 101 webinars that we do every week. My email is out on pretty much everything to say like, hey, I'm happy to talk to you about it just to see whether or not it feels like it's going to be a good fit. And like part of our intake team is, they're like, hey, are you like gung ho and you're ready to go? Or are you just looking to gather information? Because we can give you a path to go on either way.
Okay.
So yeah, just being educated and knowing that you're like, yeah, that you've got.
That you got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
That you're ready to like take that next step.
So if a surrogate wants to apply to Nodal, where do they go?
Nodal.com.
Nodal.com. How do you spell nodal?
Nodal.
DAL. Okay. .com. There we go.
Yeah. Nodal.com.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, again, this is my first startup that I've ever worked in, but like, I think our branding is just so beautiful. So
I
feel
love
like
the
every time I
green.
see our stuff, I'm like, oh, it's just so pretty.
It is. It's a very pretty green. It's like a forest, like Everest. It's like, ooh.
Yes. There was like kudos to our like
Calming.
design and like marketing team. They just do such a beautiful job with all of our stuff. So
Oh, I'm just gonna check really quick.
And then do we have time to just kind of in a nutshell get your surrogacy journey?
I know.
Like, do you have time for that, Brianna?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
man, my surrogacy journey, I will say, like, until I worked in this position and now I get to work with all these other surrogates, like, I just had no idea how
Can I,
had, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was gonna say, how'd you even find out about surrogacy?
Yeah.
I don't even know really like how I
Okay.
found out about like surrogacy. I just remember like at one point, and this is just like speaks to how insanely crazy I am. And again, I feel like this is most surrogates. I had Irish twins. My kids are back to back. And I think my youngest was like 1. And I was like, I feel like I could be pregnant again, but I definitely don't want to bring home any more babies.
Okay.
And I knew so many people who were struggling with fertility at that, like fertility issues at that point. And I was like, I could do that.
Mm.
And I told my partner, and he was like, dude, like, we are drowning in our life right now. Like, what? Oh, why would you want to do that right now? And
Aw.
I was like, okay, so like maybe not like right this minute, but like if I
Right.
want to do it in a year, like, are you game? And he was like, can we talk about this in a year?
Aw.
So a year went by and I was like, yeah, it just, it kind of like popped into my head. And then it was like, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yes, that is like, yes, yeah, I can't wait. And as I researched and I learned more about it, I was just like, yes, I could totally do this. And so, yeah, I don't remember exactly how I found out about it, but I remember like as soon as the idea popped in my head, like
Wasn't going away.
grew and grew, and
Yep.
I'm so excited.
So I take it you live in a surrogate friendly state then?
I do. Yes, I live
Okay.
in North Carolina.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so
And
wait,
who,
how to find an agency? Did you just go online? Can I
So,
ask how long ago? How
I
long ago?
did I did my journey. I had Babe in 2021.
Oh,
oh,
That's right.
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
2021.
Okay.
So it wasn't that long ago. I mean, I did embryo transfer like smack dab in the middle of COVID.
Oh man.
Right there with you.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't too long ago, but
Okay.
I did what every good researcher does, and I Googled it.
Right.
I was
Exactly.
like, surrogacy agencies.
So
Right.
funny. Oh
Yeah,
geez.
I didn't know any other surrogates. I didn't.
Yeah.
It never even crossed my mind to like join surrogacy Facebook groups because I didn't have any idea. So I just Googled it, and the first agency that popped up, I think I might have Googled like, is this a good agency? And nothing said it wasn't.
Okay.
And that was really it. Like,
There you go.
Love it. There you go.
again, I'm an avid researcher.
No, it's
my
hard
gosh.
to find review. It's hard to find reliable reviews on agencies because of course the good journeys are the only ones that are going to be posted.
Yeah.
Like there's never going to be, well, not never, I've given some, but like there's never, it's harder to find like the trueness in it all. Like not all of them are 5 out of, like not every journey is a 5 out of 5. Like it's okay if it's a 3. It doesn't mean the agency is bad. It just means like something just
Yeah.
happened. Like
Yeah.
okay, so you went with an agency. And so
Yep. So I went with an agency.
how did your matching go?
Yeah.
So for me, it was just, hey, this feels like a good match for you. And I was like,
Oh,
great.
Is this during pandemic? This is during pandemic that you're doing matching?
My matching was pre-pandemic. It was, we had our match call in January of 2020. So, and then because I remember I went out for my med clearance, and I remember being in the airport and being like, why is everyone wearing masks? This is so weird.
Wow.
And I remember like seeing on the TV, like, because it was Italy was like the first
closed
down. And I remember being like, oh, that sucks. Like, woof.
Right.
Yeah.
2 weeks later.
Right. Bam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I did my med clearance appointment beginning of March. The world shut down. which like it was fine because we were going through legal and everything anyway at that point. And then I transferred July 1st. And I drove instead of flying because at that time they were saying, you know, it was safer.
Wow. How far did you have to drive? How many hours?
Yeah, where'd you go then?
I transferred it in Boston.
Okay.
Because my IPs were from New York. And at the time it was still illegal. Surrogacy was illegal in New York. So they weren't doing transfers in New York. So I did my transfer in Boston.
Wow.
Wait, I just learned something new. Surrogacy was illegal in New York?
Well, it was not a surrogacy friendly state up until last year.
Right. It just became one. Yeah.
That blows my mind because I always equate New York and California together. I won't get on that, but
they did not do, nope, they would not do transfers in New York.
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. Learn something new every day.
So was your couple gay men, a single?
It was a heterosexual couple.
Okay, great. Great.
Yeah.
Did they have any children or did you carry their first
They
one?
did. They had one previous child.
Okay. Through surrogacy? Or no?
No. Not through
okay.
surrogacy.
Okay.
And again, like, I think, you know, I had a fantastic experience. Like had a great relationship with my IPs. They were fantastic. But like going in my head, I had this like picture that I was going to carry for a same-sex male couple. And like, it just, the picture I had in my head was different.
Yeah.
And not to say that like it was bad. It just, it was different. And then, but the agency said like, hey, this couple feels like a good fit for you for whatever reason, you know? And I was like, I think I just would have said yes to anybody because I was so excited and, you know, talking to them, it was great. And they were sweet and they were kind and, you know, they had a beautiful story. And so I don't know, like,
you didn't get icky vibes or anything.
Yeah.
You weren't twisted into doing it. You weren't, you know, strong armed into doing it. You agreed. You were like, okay, I'll talk to them. Yeah. Okay.
But I always tell, like, I just always tell my surrogates, like, I'm like, I guarantee you have a picture in your head of like what you think this is going to look like. And you don't have to compromise that. Like, you know, it might take a little bit longer, but you just because you're doing a good thing doesn't mean that you need to compromise like what you want to do it.
Agreed.
Right. Compromise or feel
coerced,
feel bad in any way, you know,
guilted into doing it for people. Right.
You know, if you know what you want, you know what you want. I get that a lot from people and I'm just like, well, but I know what I want it. Like it's you know, so know what you want and it's okay to want that. And it's totally fine.
It's okay to have that picture in your head. And you know,
although,
it might be a little bit different, but
exactly. And even if you have that picture in your head, also just like don't expect it to go 100% that way. You just never know.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, gotta roll with the punches.
So they had embryos, obviously. Was this going to be a brother or sister to their like full brother or sister to their current child, or was it gonna Oh, that's nice. Yay.
Yeah.
And then transfer one embryo?
Transferred one embryo. And it was, I mean, like it was just
textbook
like and that's like I say that about my pregnancies. Like my pregnancies, like not to say that they were easy in comparison to a lot of other people's. Yes, they were easy, but they were just textbook, you know, like it still sucks being pregnant in the last trimester. Like it is what it is. And that's what, like one of those things that like drives me crazy is when people are just like, oh, you must just love being pregnant. And I'm like, no, I love being pregnant. I just the discomfort of being pregnant was you know, I could bear that because the payoff was that I got to make someone a baby.
Right.
So exactly.
A lot of people don't see that. It's true. So first transfer it took positive.
So first transfer positive.
Perfect.
Again, just like it was textbook. And I think it was just so amazing, like for these IPs who had not had textbook, you know, up until then, like to be able to give them that good news, like, you know, at every step of the way, like, cause I think again, like with my own pregnancies, like, you want everything to go well, but like, this is just so much more.
Oh, so much more. Yeah. And they just hold their breath the whole pregnancy. Sometimes IPs just can't even enjoy the pregnancy because they're holding their breath that something's gonna go wrong. Yeah. And it's sad.
But it was like, it was textbook. It was first transfer successful. But it was like smack dab in the middle of COVID. So it was just like weird times.
So did they get to come to appointments or because
how'd
They
that work?
did.
they did?
I will
Okay.
say, like in North Carolina, like the hospital system that we were working with, like
Mhm.
they just went above and beyond.
Aw,
Like
that's so
they were
amazing.
so excited about the situation, and like so they at the time like they weren't allowing. I think they were allowing like one person in the room, but I
Mhm.
explained the situation, and so both parents got to be there for the anatomy scan, which was just
Nice.
like
That's
the head
amazing.
of the the OB clinic
Wow.
approved it, and they like walked us in from the front door and stuff.
Give me
It was
chills. That's awesome. I love to hear
sweet.
that. I really do. Oh,
No, that's nice. That's really
yeah.
sweet. Because
And then like for again, like for delivery,
Yeah.
I delivered March of 2022. Yeah.
no, 2021.
2021. And
is that
yeah,
when
so
you
again,
delivered,
like
Ken?
I know. I was thinking in my head. What day did you deliver?
I think it was March 4th.
Oh, okay. I was the 31st, but we were pregnant
Right.
at the same
Same
time.
time,
Yes.
same month. Isn't that crazy? Wow.
Yeah. And so
Yikes.
like
Did
they
you go to
allowed
term? Did you go to term?
I did. Well, I was a little bit early because I had cholestasis, which like
What's that?
never heard of that in my life. I weirdest thing. So like I'm laying there 37 weeks, maybe I think. And I was like going to bed and my hands and my palms and the bottom of my feet were like super itchy. And I was like, that is so weird.
Yeah.
So of course, again, avid researcher, like Google
That-
like hands
what is
and
that?
feet itchy last
Yeah.
week of pregnancy.
Love it. Love it.
And they're like, you need to go to the doctor right now.
Yes, you
And
do.
like, sure enough, I called the doctor on Sunday and they were like, you need to come in. Like,
Yep.
you need to come first thing Monday morning. I was like,
Mallory had it, Kennedy.
Like-
Mallory had it.
Oh.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah,
my daughter-in-law. Yeah.
it's essentially, I guess, where like all of the yuck that's in your body, like
Bile.
your body just can't process it quick enough.
Your liver can't do its job. Right.
It kicks back out into your body and it can be it can be toxic if that crosses over to the baby.
Correct.
Oh no.
So they were like very nice about it. They're like, they did a stress test. The baby is fine, but like baby needs to come out with, you can pick your due date or you can pick the baby's birthday, but it needs to be in the next 5 days.
Wow.
It's like, I remember calling the IPs and being like, and they were like on a ski trip. So she's like literally on a mountain.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
was like, you got 5 days, like pick your baby's birthday.
Oh my
If
gosh.
you're gonna do this. And I was having a planned C-section. So it was like,
Wow. So they got back and came right and
so they came, yeah,
delivered in
they,
North Carolina.
yep.
Okay. Mhm.
And then they came here and we met at the hospital the morning of
Aw.
his birthday. And yeah, it was just like the coolest experience. Like again, I knew I was having, it was a planned C-section, which was just like so much more civil than my non-planned C-section with my last baby.
God.
Like I walked into the
Yeah.
OR room, like
Right.
Yeah.
there were no body parts hanging out everywhere. I mean, I know that I
Exactly.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
And
So-
so yeah, they got to be there for delivery.
And so were they literally in the room, in the OR room? Wow. You have a
Oh.
very, very cool hospital that you
Yeah,
were in.
Yeah,
you
they
do.
were amazing. They
Oh
were
my gosh.
amazing and
That is
very.
awesome.
I remember the nurse asked me, like, she was like, because they keep saying like, okay, mom, like blah blah, and I was like,
Right. I'm not the mom. Yeah,
I'm
right.
mom.
I
was like, "She's
know.
mom." She was like, okay. And so she like pulled everybody out of the room. It was just me and her, and she's like, okay, tell me how to say this and like how to do this right because I don't want to mess this up. And she's like, but I've never been in this situation before.
Yeah.
And
Sweet.
so they were just amazing. And like they were like, all right, like, who's going to hold the baby? And I was like, they're going to hold the baby. And yeah, I remember like being there and they said, okay, we can only have 2 people in the room. And I was like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So they were in the room and the entire time, they're looking at me like, are you okay? Are you okay? And like the entire time I'm like, I'm good. No,
Yeah,
I'm fine.
right,
Like,
right. Just
Oh
like a
my
baby
God.
trying
trying
to
to
pulled
like
out
make
of your
them
womb.
feel okay. And they're
Oh my
trying to
God.
make sure I'm
Oh my
okay.
Also, you didn't have a support person.
Support
for
person.
you.
Your partner,
So
no.
it was just them.
You're
Wow, bless your
gold star,
heart.
girl. Gold star, because wow.
Like I'm just, yeah. So like, and after, like, right, they took the baby after, and then so my partner came in and he was
Right.
there while I was getting like sewn up and everything.
Yeah.
And he got to sit with me in recovery room and everything
Aw.
afterwards. But it just, to me, I was like, it's more important that you guys get to be there and you both get to see it and you
Very
both get to see him. And
Yeah. Well, and especially since you had a decent relationship with them,
Yeah.
it wasn't weird or awkward or had, you
Right.
know, tension in the room. Because if that was the case, it might have
Gone
gone a little
it would,
differently.
I'm sure it would have been a different story. Yeah, for sure.
sure.
It was, yeah, no, it was great. And like afterwards, you know, like I went back to my room and they were right down the hall and we had lunch and dinner together. And my first walk was over to their room to get to hold the baby. So it was just, I think, again, it was textbook. It was beautiful. It was everything I wanted it to be. And I was so lucky in that way to have such an amazing first journey.
Do you keep in contact with them now? Not like every day, but
Yeah,
here
we're
and
not,
there?
I mean, yeah, like we follow each other on social media and we like, smiley heart face at each
Yeah.
other's like cute baby pictures and
Okay.
we send Christmas cards and all of that stuff.
There
So
you go.
yeah, but that was how we laid it out. That was what we said
Yeah.
it was going to be. So
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Awesome.
then because we're big advocates on this, but since you had such a great relationship,
Yeah, did a great relationship.
but was it in your contract at all that you would have alone time with the baby if you so wanted it?
we did not, it never really crossed my mind, honestly. Like
Yeah.
for me, it wasn't ever a thing. I think like the one thing that was really important to me post birth was that my kids got to see the baby.
Yes,
That's
that's
fair.
what I was going to ask. How old
and
were
now-
they? They were
They
little.
they were 3 and 4.
Oh wow.
Then they
yeah.
still have an understanding that mom's pregnant. There's a baby.
Totally.
in there.
Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
Compulsion.
They were like my kids, whenever they'd see pregnant women, they'd be like, whose baby's in your belly?
Oh,
I
I
love it.
mean, nowadays that's a great question to ask.
Like,
That's
people would be like,
crazy
oh my
to
gosh. I'm like, it's fine.
That's great. Oh, I love that.
Cute.
Okay, so did they get to come to the
Yeah.
hospital or did
So,
you just
yeah.
bring them? Okay.
They did they come to the hospital?
Because again, we're COVID, right?
I know.
Yeah, I don't think my kids were not allowed to come to the hospital
Right.
because
Okay.
of COVID.
Right.
Which I was like,
No, thank
"Oh my
God.
God, it's fine."
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You
Thank
can stay
God.
over there.
Yeah.
But the parents, the IPs, they drove me home. So they drove me home from the hospital before
I'm
they
right up here on the heart. Jesus Lord, that's
I
beautiful.
know. So it was, again, like it was perfect. And so like I was like, okay, germ bombs, like don't touch the baby. Like
Yeah.
you stand over there and you
Oh.
look at the
Right,
baby.
right.
But so yeah, like they were like, hi baby, like
Yeah.
and
But
then
it's important for them to close it out,
see
even
it.
in their little brains that they're not
Mhm.
thinking we're closing this out.
Right.
They really are. They really are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mom went off for a couple of days. She's been active, and that's what came out of her belly. Like,
Yes.
it's important. It's important.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
great.
so they were very like they got to see it. Like they talked about the baby all the time. And my kids, like we went, I think on the baby's like first birthday, it ended up like we were going on a trip that was pretty close by where like the IPs lived.
Mhm.
So we went and I got to see the baby on his first birthday and like my kids got to see him. And so there was just, yeah, like it was just,
Sounds
was
lovely. It really does. It just sounds
really
like so picturesque. I mean, and I'm so happy for you that you got that journey and that your IPs got that journey. Like,
Yes.
honestly,
that you all.
lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
yeah, it was really great. And again, like now I know for sure how like
Yeah.
fortunate and lucky and
Yes.
perfect it all was. And so
How was your agency throughout it? Were they good? Were they supportive? Like, did they kind of like once you guys kind of matched, since you guys had a good relationship, they kind of just like fizzled away?
yeah, I mean, I think the agency was great and they did everything that they were supposed to do, right? Like it wasn't ever like I felt like I never had any questions. Everything went smoothly, all my reimbursements and everything. So I think it's one of those things where it's almost like the fact that I don't remember anything specifically probably means
Yeah.
that they did a really good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the one thing that was tough for me, and this is, why I'm in the position that I'm in today, is that I didn't feel like I had a community. Like this was an agency that had a ton of surrogates. And we would do like a monthly
Check-in.
support call. It was like
Yeah.
a 1-hour call. And
Wow.
like I found myself like by the end of it, just like dreading these calls.
Yeah.
or just being like, this is like pure entertainment because some of these people are insane.
Jesus.
But yeah, like I just never really felt super connected. And I'm a very like social connection person. And so
You think, ma'am?
yeah, you know, right. So yeah, like I was like, if there was one thing that could have like gone better for me, it was that aspect of community. And so like here I am today.
Wow.
That.
How did you, I'm just gonna jump on that one. How did you find Nodal? Like it's a startup company. Who did you know that to like, was it the doc? Who was it?
So it was like originally what happened was like they reached out because they were looking for previous surrogates to just interview about surrogacy, like as they were starting their research and like developing the product. And so, you know, I'm being the personality type I am, like I would love to volunteer.
Exactly.
I'll talk about surrogacy. So yeah, I interviewed with them just as they were doing it. And they reached back out and they were like, hey, would you be interested in like coming on and kind of like consulting with us, like as we're getting started? And so I started off just doing it part-time. And I was kind of just consulting with them from like November of 2020, 2021. And then I started full-time in May.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
That's
great.
amazing.
I love to hear stories like that. It's awesome.
I know.
Did you have to leave another job or were you not? Were you just,
I did. I left like a long time career that I was in.
Look at you. That's a leap of faith. Good for you.
I used to plan events for a liquor and beer company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a pretty awesome job.
That is like so opposite.
Is it? Oh my God. Wow.
But I think the timing was just like, it was perfect timing. Like it was at this point where like my kids were getting a little bit older. They were starting school and, you know, it was like, okay, everyone's going to make it. Like everyone's going to now. And it was like, I get to maybe you know, you see that thing all the time where it's like mom flamingos lose their pink. Like, I feel like I was like getting my pink back and I was like, okay, I'm ready to like do something that feels good to me. And so, yeah.
It doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like work, right? I mean, I know it's hard work, but it doesn't feel like work. Like you're excited to do it. You're excited to talk
about it. It's definitely it's a big change for me to be in something that I'm like very emotionally invested in. Like like the good is good, but man, having to tell people things that they don't want to hear is awful. And it like,
that's hard.
I watch a lot of like New Girl reruns because I just need to like feel good for a second.
Oh my gosh. I understand that. Mine's Friends or Gilmore Girls.
I know. I feel like we all have like a comfort show. Mine is like New Girl. I don't.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Well, if would you be a surrogate again?
Kind of talked about that a little in the beginning.
Yes, like I would. So I did this on purpose to myself. But I always said like when I'm done having babies, I'm just going to put everything back where it belongs.
Okay.
And so after I had my surrogacy, I scheduled it right away and had Surrobabe in March, went and had mommy makeover in October. And I did this on purpose because I know me and I would have just
you would have gone back.
Yeah. Yep. So, but I don't know, like had I known that I would have ended up in this industry, I might have just like,
wow,
maybe one more time you might have wanted.
And I sit on these intro calls and I'm like, I'll make you a baby. Okay.
I love it.
I'll make everyone a baby.
And you get a baby, and you get a baby, and you get
a baby. So I know. But my partner was like, okay, like, but you maybe need to write into your contract like a new husband too. Like,
was he
not doing this again?
You know, this is something that we're starting to talk about a little bit more because it's not really talked about. So was he like on board, like fully, or like he was like your body, your choice, but like
He was totally on board just because like I am just like the captain of like, you're not the boss of me. Like we're partners, but you're not the boss of me and you don't get to tell me what to do. And like, and the same for him, right? Like he's in the reserves, like he's in the military reserves. And like, yeah, it's a big toll on us as a family and when he's gone all the time. But at the same time, like that's what makes him happy. And And I would never want, either of us to not do things that make each other, like ourselves, happy, because
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a burden, or not that it's sometimes a burden to the other person. So
Mhm.
I think for him, like, he was more worried, of course, like about my safety and
Safety.
health. And I was like, what I said to him was like, dude, like when I got pregnant with Josie, it's not like you were like, but what if you die? Like,
Right.
like when someone gets pregnant, that's like not really a thought that crosses your mind. But then as soon as someone does a surrogacy pregnancy, that's like the first thing that everybody wants to talk about. Like, what if
Yeah.
like,
Right. It's
and
weird how that
so
comes out. Yeah. Mhm.
so yeah, like, I mean, he was worried about those things just in a very
Yeah.
like, rational way. And I was just like, I mean, there's always going to be risk to it. Yeah. But this is something that I am willing to take that risk. And it's something that really means a lot to me. And he was like, all right, let's do it. I think his thing is more so that it's it obviously like it my kids were so little when I did it, and like
Yeah, that's a lot.
it was hard. I was tired, and
Yeah.
you can't pick the kids up and blah blah blah. And so
Right.
I mean, I think if I like push came to shove and I was like, hey, look, I'm gonna do this, he would be like, all right, let's do it, like here we go
Yeah.
again. But I think like I said, I'm not doing this again. Don't let me do this again. So he's like, dude, you said it. You said it. Like, I'm holding you to it. So
That's cute. Oh my gosh.
But you can be a part of it in the other ways because now you're
Yeah.
so
and now and like
Yeah,
that's
like,
the thing that I'm
Best
like,
of both worlds.
yeah.
I get to be in it, and I get to like vicariously live these journeys through other people,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
even better. So
Oh, it's amazing. Okay, just like two more questions. But what is something you wish someone told you before you became a surrogate?
that just because I made the choice to be a surrogate, like that I still had options, and that I still deserved to know my options and to be educated about what my options were, and that I didn't have to feel like I was inconveniencing anybody by asking what those options were.
Good advice.
I think I was just
Absolutely.
Great
I was
advice.
just so
Yep.
quiet.
Yeah.
I think
Really,
a
that's hard to
lot-
believe. It's hard to believe that you were quiet about that. I'm just kidding.
Well, now she knows her
Now I'm not.
stuff.
Now you're not. I get it.
Now I'm like, everybody.
I get it. Yeah.
Right.
So funny.
Oh my gosh. No, but I think I think that's great advice, because that's a lot of surrogates don't know what to expect, don't know what to ask, don't know the information that's being held back, that they should be like, hey, why did you not tell me this? Like, why did I learn the hard way? So
More
yeah.
information you can get, but it's like, again, it's hard to get the information where you don't know where to go. So
You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Exactly.
The fact that
Yeah.
all these platforms are out there I just love it. I just wish they were around, 20 years ago. It would have been super nice. I would have done it differently.
Yes.
Would have.
And I don't know if this is the same, but what advice would you give to someone who says, hey, I want to be a surrogate?
Do it.
There you go.
It's always, I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah. Like, let's,
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. Like, I think that's my biggest, whenever someone comes in and they're like, I want to do this, it's just, for me, I'm like, that's so exciting. You get to like, you get to do this, and you get to, I hope that good, bad, or ugly, like, it's just such a cool world. It's such a beautiful community of people. And so, yeah, like, to anybody that's looking to get into it, I'm like, yes, let's talk about it.
Do it.
Love it.
Oh my gosh. Well, those are all of the questions that I have. I don't know if there's anything else that I didn't touch on or that you'd like to share.
I don't think so.
We went the gamut, man. We went up.
I know.
The road, and we just
Thank you. This is just so much fun. Again, like, I feel like
I love it.
It's so much fun to sit and talk to other surrogates.
I love it.
It is.
Love
It's
it.
so fun. We love it.
I know. You guys have it. You got it made.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Nah.
Trying to get it out there, man. Just trying to get it out there.
And you get to work with your mom. I love hanging out with my mom. So I'm like, this would be so fun.
I never really, Brianna, ever thought she'd ever be a surrogate. I never thought any of my children would be. I have two girls. And when she first came to me and said she wanted to be a surrogate, I was like, yeah, duh, Ellen, in the back of your head. Of course, that's what she'd do. Not to follow me, but that sounds so right because that's the trajectory of her life was going as such. And I was like, got it. Yep. That's awesome. And it was just, I just supported her and everything I could possibly do. And it was just, and then she comes, I'm gonna do a second one. I'm like, sure you are. Yep, got it.
She didn't say, sure you are. She's like, oh,
yeah. I was like, oh no. Yeah. I got to give you all those shots again. Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, cause so she was my shot person. She did every single shot. My dad probably did two shots out of all 3 of my journeys.
Oh my gosh. I like refused. The only other person that gave me a shot was my kid. I let my kid give me one of my shots.
Wait, so you did all your shots?
I did all my shots.
Me too. Did all my own.
I am like, no, I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm gonna be stabbing my own self.
Thank you. I'm control freak.
But my little one, they were about to go in and they were about to go get their shots, like, right. So they had like their annual shots and I was like, you're going to get shots. And so I was like, why don't you can give mommy a shot. You can do it. We'll do it together. Okay. So you can see that like, yes, it hurts a little bit, but like, it'll be fine. And so those little kiddies, they walked right into their shot and they like little pros. They were so cute.
Oh my God, that's phenomenal. So cute.
That's a great story. Seriously. Like I would have never thought to allow what did you say? There were 3 and 4 when you did this? Like to come in and like
my 4-year-old.
Woo!
You have daughters?
Yeah, I have 2 girls.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't trust my 7-year-old son to do that.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. That's why I didn't trust my husband. I'm like, yep, nope, I'll do them all by myself. Thank you very much. So
my husband is like he was military and he's like, I have medical training.
Yeah.
Like, he would have passed out.
Oh my God. They're long. Some of those needles are long
and thick.
And thick. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Good for you. You're like the first and the other person I know that's given them their own shots. Everybody we talk to has somebody else do it or
I was like,
good for you.
Like I just I told you like I'm just the captain of you're not the boss of me. Like I'm just gonna do this myself.
Dude, I wish I had that mindset to do it myself, but no.
Okay. All right, it works out.
Yeah, exactly. As long as someone gave it to you, you're great.
Yeah, that's all that matters. Oh my gosh! Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come talk to us. I know that the time zones are so different.
I know.
So thank you for making the time. Seriously, we greatly appreciate it.
This was so great.
And good luck to the company. Rooting for you guys, 100%. Totally rooting for you guys.
Thank you. We're excited, and so we're learning every day.
Yeah, awesome.
No, it's gonna be great. And like in 5 years from now, you guys will just be looking back and be like,
you guys are gonna be exploding.
Well, no, I was just gonna say you guys are gonna be looking back at like the first beginnings and like be like, do you guys remember that? Like that was so like
kind of a corporation of like 40 or 50 people, and you're gonna be like international and I could just totally see this. It's great. It's great. It's wonderful. So enjoy the ride. Seriously.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Have a good rest of your night.
You do the same thing.
What? Wait. I just Instagram. So is it if people want to get more information there, how do they find it? Because it's not Nodal. Because
it is Nodal. It's Nodal Health, right?
Oh. Yeah, because there's a guy named Nodal.
Oh, how funny!
I wonder if he's Nodal.
I know. Ooh, he could be. It could be. I gotta find out.
Yes. So Nodal, it's at nodalhealth.com. I am the Lady Buck. I don't have a work Instagram. I'm not that cool yet. But yeah, so either or.
Awesome.
And is Buck BUCK?
BUCK, the Lady Buck.
Perfect.
Got it. Amazing. There we go. Now we'll let you go.
Yes, now we'll let you go. We're good.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
You too. Oh, she's delightful.
Oh, I was like, I was so tired, and I'm like, now I'm pumped. I'm like, oh, this was phenomenal. Like, what a cool premise.
It is.
Like, I can't even tell you what a phenomenal person. No, she's so energetic. Like
she's very bubbly. She's very personable. She's very, I mean, she's
to be in the community leadership role than her. Like, I can't, like, honestly. No,
so
good find to get them on.
So sweet. And she's so transparent and honored.
Which is huge. I think that's the biggest word in surrogacy right now is transparency. And
and that's what That's
Drew
that's what drew me to respect her so much. I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
oh my gosh, like this, you have not fibbed anything.
Wow.
It is
Nice.
all straight up, even
They
if I
didn't
don't want to hear
sugarcoat
it.
nothing.
It
It's
is,
just boom.
yeah.
Wow.
Just like the good, the bad, whatever. Like this is it. We appreciate everything that they're doing and everything that I love it all.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. And it's only going to grow and
big time.
get
And reach
get
a whole lot more people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
It's
word
gonna
of
be
mouth,
phenomenal.
because people who are with them now will just speak,
Yeah.
about it, and word of mouth. So they're going to get a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful.
And her story, her journey.
Yes, very sweet. I didn't even know she was a surrogate. I had no idea.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
awesome.
But her journey's so sweet.
Yeah, that's a
They
nice
drove
one.
her home.
Yeah, go
And they
figure
were
that.
allowed in the freaking hospital.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that hospital. And then the anatomy scan where she said the top OB guy kind of wrote it
I
off and
know.
said yes. Like
You
that's
remember how much hell I got for
Yes,
mine when my doctor was
absolutely.
like, nobody.
Absolutely. I remember. Yep. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So
But yeah. Well, thank you so much,
Yes,
Brianna,
thank you. It
for
was lovely.
coming on. We really appreciate it. And
We so do.
yeah. Well, if anybody has any questions or would like to share their story, please feel free to reach out to me at on Instagram at Stop.Sit.Surrogate. And yeah.
Okay. It's been another episode of Stop, Sit, Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen. Thanks, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.